All right, everyone. So, wanted to give kind of an update. I know we haven't had one of these meetings in a little while. These meetings are every other week, but obviously sometimes things happen, and I know everyone's really running around in their own life. We have summer coming up, and most of you have kids and are going to have kids out of school, and it makes it a little tough. The thing that I teach our mortgage lenders, which I'm going to teach you as well, is really try to work on developing a habit that's around spending 30 minutes to an hour on three different activities that prospect for business. So whatever it is that you're doing to prospect for business, make a habit around the three top things you're going to do that maximize the most efforts. So an hour is what I ideally would prefer from each one of you. Obviously, everyone's different. And if you're saying you're full-time in real estate, it should be 2 hours a week in three different things. Why such a little amount of time? Because you want to build a habit around prospecting for business so that when you get busy, you still have that habit in place and that habit is locked into your schedule. It's a set time you can do it. You ignore everything else with all of your transactions because you're prospecting for business. So whatever those three things are that you're choosing to do based on your business, pick three things. If you only have a half hour each week, not every day, but each week, then I would do that. I prefer for it to be half hour, 3 times a week, but that's up to you, right? But those are the time frames. I would do half hour, 3 times a week, or hour, 3 times a week. If you are full-time in the industry, this is the max amount of a habit you want to do is 3 times a week, 2 hours each day, 3 hours each day prospecting for business. So really focus on that. Why? Because business is really starting to pick up. Nothing is really changing with interest rates, which is totally fine. Inventory is picking up as well, which isn't so good if the business is picking up for you, is listings. So we have some strategies and some updates to how the market is changing and evolving and what we're doing. Okay. The first major things that we need to focus on when we are out selling real estate is your attitude. A lot of times you have heard me say this, and you've probably heard me say this in other videos. This is not an issue with anyone in our company, but we are going to see this as a common lawsuit issue in California. We are in the information age. And when I start seeing all over Instagram, all over TikTok, these people who are giving advice in real estate, telling their stories and talking about how a listing agent or a buyer's agent gave attitude and it pissed off the seller and it ruined the seller's ability to negotiate or the buyer's ability to negotiate. That is going to start coming to light. And what's going to happen is your seller or your buyer is going to start to think, because this has happened, it has happened, and it's going to happen more and more, where they're going to say, what happened at the end of the transaction? Why did they turn into such a rude person and refuse to accept our deal? They're going to end up meeting those people at some point, or they might, or you never know. And they're going to say, hey, what the heck? Your house is crap. Why wouldn't you agree just to replace one thing? And they would say, because your agent was so rude to our agent. We saw all these messages. We heard what they said, and it was just ridiculous. Same thing. Your agent never scheduled an appointment, and you guys just showed up at our house and said that you scheduled an appointment and made a big deal. And we got upset with our agent, but then later found out, no, you guys didn't schedule an appointment. And so now we're pissed off from the get-go. And so what you have to remember is this kind of stuff is going to happen more and more. It's going to happen more often than not. So the thing that ends up happening is you're going to get some good agents who are already annoyed with agents who have that kind of attitude, because we're seeing it left and right. When you experience those agents who have that attitude, it's up to you to digest it, translate what you need to your clients. You can warn them, right? We have people who will say, no, my seller's adamant about only paying 1.5% commission. We will not accept any more, right? Okay, fine. But then they're going off and they're giving you more attitude about everything else. I mean, for God's sake, we had someone say to one of our agents, did your client smoke weed at the house? We noticed they were at the house for over an hour. No, we didn't smoke weed. They don't smoke or smoke weed. Oh, well, maybe it is my clients because they do smoke medicinally. No, duh, it's your what? Is that the first time your client has left the house and so they didn't know what their house smelled like? So when they came back after the showing, they realized, whoa, my house smells like weed. Literally, that's probably what it is. So we all need to keep in mind that when we hear that, it's up to you how you want to choose. And why am I bringing that up? Because if that's how someone is going to act right away, I just know that the rest of the process and the rest of the transaction is going to be very difficult. And it's up to me to warn my client or not. And there's reasons you can do it, right? If I've been showing them houses all over, I know I'm going to get whatever commission. It's still a great house based on everything we saw. I still think we have room to get a good deal. Then I'm going to make it happen. If I'm out showing them houses and I'm thinking to myself, there are better options out there based on what they have told me. You're already telling me you're not going to pay me a commission. Now you're giving me attitude. I'm just going to tell them, hey, this person's giving me a ton of attitude. I'm warning you that if we get into contract, you're going to pay for the appraisal. You're going to pay for all the inspections. You're already out over $1,000. In our area of California, that's typical. Maybe a little under, but no, over, definitely over. So now you're going to be negotiating. And if they're giving attitude now, imagine what attitude they're going to give when you start having to request for things to be fixed. They're going to be a lot less likely, from my experience, to say, yes, totally up to you. I will still write the offer. I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I am just warning you because I'm here to represent you. Your clients will respect that. I don't think you're doing anything wrong. Obviously, if you're lying because they just said they'll only pay 1.5 or only pay 2, it's okay to have the conversation. Hey, they're only willing to pay this. My minimum compensation is 2%. We can factor that in. I could talk with the lender, or we just come and negotiate with them. Right? That's always an option. But as you're going, you need to remember that you could easily get in a lot of trouble by having this kind of attitude. And for any agents watching this in other brokerages, I'm talking to you. You are going to get screwed over. And to be completely brutally honest, it's the experienced agents. My attorney and this other attorney I had talked to when I started our brokerage said, when you get to year 5 of being in the industry, people start to act like attorneys. And that's when you start to see the most lawsuits against them. So for those of you 5 years or over, take a step back and just be careful. Okay. The other things we're seeing is just, keep your clients away from the other clients. So if you want to send your buyer because you're out of town to an open house, that's totally fine. If you are having another agent show it, whatever it might be, you never want your buyer, and I warn my buyers this, but I never want my buyer to meet the seller. And I will warn my buyers when we start seeing houses, if there's ever a time where a seller is still there, or a seller comes as we're leaving, or we're arriving as they're leaving, and we talk to them, you say nothing. You express zero, you don't express interest in the house. You don't not express interest in the house. Like, I don't even know how to warn you about this. You just say, hey, and you act really nice. Acting nice is great. Saying your house is beautiful. Sorry, I'm trying to watch my language because I know some of you have kids when you watch these videos, but you don't say anything. You really don't say anything, because they're going to say, why did you offer less than our list price? Why'd you ask for such a big credit? I know how much you love the house. My seller told me that your client was just over the moon with your house. Now you're like, well, they did say that, but they were just being nice. I mean, what are you going to do? So, and I'm not kidding. I have said that to my clients. When I have listings, I say, if you're leaving the house, people are going to show up way too early sometimes. So I'm just, not that you have to leave early, but I'm just warning you, say nothing if you run into them. Case in point, you leave and you say, I already just bought another house. They will use that against you. They will get into contract with you and they will ask for everything to be fixed, or giant credits, or huge price reductions. And I have heard this before, and they will use this against you, where they will say, well, I know you're paying for 2 houses, so I highly doubt you're going to want to cancel on us to go back on the market because you're already paying for 2. I would use that against you. I've had it where my buyer shows up, they meet the seller, or they meet the listing agent, and they say, "Oh, this house actually would be perfect because we need this room for our mother because it's right here. It's got its own kitchen, and my ex with you know she lives right down the street, and so we would be able to just walk the kids across the street when we're sharing custody." The agent then looked it up and said there's no other houses on the market that have this mother-in-law suite or a 4-bedroom or whatever it was in this area close to his ex. And she used it against them and they were just like, well, no, we don't really care. We'll just go to, it was like they're buying somewhere in Yuba County and decided to move to Woodland instead. And she just was shocked. She said, nope, I know this is the only house that they want. So you need to come up in your price. And I said, well, no, I'm being dead serious. They're not dead. They're not set on this area. She refused to believe it. And we just went and found a house somewhere else. And she just kept calling me. I just kept ignoring her because I don't know what to tell you. They're not that interested. And they're actually pissed off that she used that against them. So not to say you can't use it against them. I mean, there's a line to draw. But we need to be very careful about this. We need to warn people ahead of time because you will be the one that they blame. The next thing that we're seeing is to make sure we're calling the agent to ask what the seller is looking for. Yes, I do think you should call the loan officer or loan originator, whatever you want to call them, to say, hey, how quick of a close can we do? What do we want to offer? It doesn't matter unless if you're going to call the agent first, because if the seller needs 30 days or 35 days, I'd rather ask them that. Then I'm going to call the lender to say, hey, this is how long they need. How quickly can we get this done? So that's essentially what you want to be doing. You want to, as the market starts to pick up, which I do think that towards the end of this year, based on economic reports, basically you're going to see that the Federal Reserve is going to start looking at the jobs reports with a lot more scrutiny, and they're going to start saying, oh crap, and they're going to lower their rates. That doesn't really affect mortgage rates, but it is a positive sign of some things. What's really going to happen is the Secretary of Treasury, forgot his name. Whatever. He's actually a big proponent of lowering mortgage rates. And he has said certain things that if he does it, basically he's going to lower Treasury bills, which makes mortgage bonds makes them a better investment, which means more investors are going to buy mortgage bonds, which means rates are going to drop for mortgage bonds. So that's a whole long conversation, but we're looking at towards the end of this year, possibly, is what I'm hearing. Early next year, I think, maybe fall. The thing is even if people drop the interest rate a whole percent, so if someone gets quoted 6%, now they're getting quoted 5%, you're saving them a few $100s, a couple hundred. It's not making the massive difference. So when you're talking to people, you need to practice this type of dialogue. Well, where are rates at? Honestly, I wouldn't even worry about it. Mr. Borrower, Miss Borrower, Mr. and Mrs. whoever. I would talk to the loan officer because there's some crazy programs going on right now that you never know what kind of deal you're going to get. I would just talk with them. And then you need to have a conversation with the lender, which is why I am partial towards our own company, Purpose Home Lending, because I know that I teach our people when they call, the agent has worked to earn their trust. You need to lock them in and get them excited. Not everyone's going to be excited. Some people are unrealistic, right? I want a $1,500 a month payment. Yeah, moved out. I don't want to knock any other states, but move to another state. Our home prices don't match that. But I can work with you on other ones because I want to be able to strategize. Someone said to me recently, I want a $2,500 a month payment. I'm like, ooh, based on the area you're looking at, I don't know. Found out he's a contractor. I'm like, are you okay with something that needs some work? Yes, I am. I would be totally fine doing that. Okay. I said, okay, here's what I'd make as the plan. To be honest, with the price range you're looking at, and even things I'm just briefly looking at on the market, prices are a little too high. So you're looking at $2,600, $2,800 a month. But if you're able to put that, build the equity, I'm going to make it basically like a no out of pocket, very little expense refinance. And we're going to get at or below that monthly payment goal in 6 to 7 months. Can you handle 6 to 7 months, at $200 a month? That's $1,200, $1,300, right? $1,200 to $1,400. I can't do math apparently. I still think that if you wait for rates to drop, values are going to go up so much more. Like, let me show you, if values go up an extra 10,000 or 20,000, but rates drop a 0.5% to 1%, you're still out of pocket more. It's the same exact thing. And he goes, don't even explain anymore. I totally get what you're saying. And I said, plus, you're going to have so much equity because you've added so much value that when we go to refinance, we could probably remove or really reduce your mortgage insurance, which drops it even lower. That's the kind of stuff you want to talk with whoever you're working with as a lender. Once again, this is why I prefer, people to work with us, because that's what I teach, because I was an agent. And so I understand what you go through. And I've had people that are just order takers, and that's not what you want. Not everyone can do it, and not every client is going to be realistic. So some clients have told me, I don't want a payment over $3,000 a month. I'm like, great, because I'm looking at houses and I just got your pre-approval. We can get you pretty much $2,900 a month. And they said, I definitely need to wait. That payment's much higher than I thought. I'm like, wait, what? You told me, and you put on the application 3,000. So yeah, I know I said 3,000, but actually I was hoping for a lot less. So I'm going to wait. I'm like, well, okay. That's when you want a good lender who's going to warn you right away. Don't waste your time showing houses. That was shocking to me. We'll still stay on top of them, and I have a follow-up plan with them. So that's what I'd be looking at. The only other things I really wanted to talk about is, really spending some time dream building and focusing on your business. It's so funny that, I see people who, and I've had lots of talks with, like there was a guy in this event that I went to recently last week, who he said she was a real estate agent. And she said, I make about, I just have this side hustle business where I think it's like a notary business. She's like, I make $1,000 a week just from that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, where do you work out of? And she had said an area where the average price is kind of similar to, Roseville, Rockland, kind of Folsom. And I said, okay. And she said, yeah, I just closed this deal recently. I'm like, let me ask you, how much did you make from that deal? She's like, well, I made, after splits, I made $11,000. I'm like, okay. How much do you make again from the other one? She goes, 4,000 a month. I'm like, okay. And how much time does it take to drive to the house, to do the notarying, and to drive back? And she's like, yeah, I mean, all of, per week, it's still like, I think she said 10 hours a week. I'm like, okay, so 40 hours a month. How much prospecting time do you put into real estate? And she immediately could just see this like light bulb go into her house. She goes, not as much. I don't put in 40 hours a month into my real estate business. I'm like, okay, so you do understand that you just made 11 grand putting in less amount of time than you do in your notary business where you make 4 grand. And she's like, don't say anymore. And she said, I feel stupid. I'm like, don't feel stupid, but this happens all the time. Some of you are brand new and you're over here selling $1.2, $1.5 million homes, making 20 to 30 something thousand. Just keep in mind that it takes work and effort to do that. Keep in mind the perspective that when you close 6, 7, 8 of those deals a year, even if you're closing 10 deals a year, so not even one a month, making 10,000 a month, I mean, you're making really good money. I mean, a college education type money, college education plus experience in a field type of money. I just really think that to expect to do that in 6 months or a year is unrealistic. If you've been in this industry for 4 years, congratulations, you've got your undergrad. Now it's time to apply the experience and get the experience. So not to say that it takes 5 or 6 years to make over a 6-figure income. I just think that in your mind, you should prepare yourself for that, but you should act as if you could make that kind of income day one right now. That is the kind of work habit you want to put in. But once again, I would spend some time going back and focusing on, hey, how much time and effort am I putting in that establishes just a minimum work habit. So when I do get busy, I'm prepared to keep prospecting for business. Last thing I wanted to talk about very briefly is a lot of you need to go back, and it's okay if you're very experienced, go back to sending me your offers to review, because some of you I'm seeing are putting some things that are possibly screwing over your clients, and we need to stay away from that. Also, your agent visual inspection disclosures. If I see any room that says nothing to note, I'm going to call you and say you need to redo it, because there's no way there's nothing to note. You're also not supposed to be descriptive. Some of you are putting small hole on the wall. I don't care if it's a thumbtack, clearly hole in the wall that I could barely see, but I just happened to be really close to the wall and I saw it. It's hole in wall. If there's a smudge on the wall, like my daughter wrote on our office wall the other day, I'm going to put mark on wall. I'm not putting clearly a 3-year-old drew with a pen on the wall, mark on wall, because nothing should be descriptive. You never know. And I've had it where it looked like a clear water stain. It wasn't. I forgot what it was. Something. Oh, this wasn't my house. This was someone else. It was some type of weird, like they had some weird storage up in their crawl space, and they put a gas can. It wasn't a water stain. It was a gas, like liquid gas stain up in the ceiling in the wall. And it was hard to notice. The guy happened to notice it, and he said, water stain on the wall. And I think it was like the home inspector came and said, oh, that's not water, that's gasoline. Smell it. Thank God, because then he was able to change it. But case in point, stop doing that. So, please, like this post if you understand, you're in our brokerage and you understand what I'm saying. But also, please send me your offers to review, because some people are putting things that, I'd rather not have the seller pay for the buyer's home warranty, because it's $575, includes HVAC. It's a decent plan, or it's $625. Some of you are putting like a dollar amount that doesn't even make sense. I'd rather have the buyer pay $575 than have the buyer pay for the owner's title insurance that costs $1,800 or $1,200. So there's that. The other thing I'm going to really warn against is title and escrow. I get that some of you have preferred title and escrow people. You may want to talk to some other title and escrow and do a case study. So say, hey, if someone came and put 10% down on a $500,000 purchase in Roseville, California, area code 95678, what would be the sheet, your pricing sheet? Can I have a breakdown? Why? Because as I've been doing loans, I'm noticing Chicago Title, I'm pretty sure, is one of them. There are some companies that have really high fees compared to everyone else. And you're going to see document prep, document review, document packaging, document sent for signature, fee. And it starts to get ridiculous. And so I would just be aware of that, because when you are negotiating, you can use that as leverage to your favor or not. So like if you're representing a buyer, you're the only offer, they say we're using Chicago Title. I'm not trying to throw Chicago Title under the bus. I actually don't really remember which company it is that has the higher fees compared to everyone else, but I'm pretty sure it was Chicago Title. But what I would do is if you're the only offer and you're trying to negotiate to get a credit and someone's being difficult, I'd say, well, you guys chose Chicago Title. Just so you know, I am aware that they have higher fees than the other company we want to use. And you can ask them. I get that you prefer to use them, but do understand, listing agent, you get no financial benefit using them. So if we're talking about my client getting an extra $1,000 credit, well, how about then we use an escrow and title company that's $1,000 a month or $1,000 cheaper, which some lenders can use something called a track program, which is title review. Basically, it's a discounted fee for the same exact thing. So if some of you are looking for ways to negotiate because you have clients that need extra credits, please call me. I'm totally fine. The worst thing you can do is say, hey, I didn't want to bug you. I can't stand hearing that. I prefer you to call me. You can text me. I'm up early. I'm putting my daughter to bed 8:30. So in the evening, it's kind of hard. The one thing I just cannot stand, I won't say hate, cannot stand, is if you have never logged into Zip Forms and you're asking me to help you with that at 7 o'clock at night. Those of you who are new or haven't done it in a while, just do it because they change it all the time. Last thing is we're going to have a link coming out to everyone, a class from Zip Forms on how to use Zip Forms. I think it's going to be one of the best classes. It's going to be boring as hell, but it'll really help you. Even I need to take it because they have updates all the time. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. Like I said, I'm here to help you. If anyone's looking into our brokerage watching this video, please feel free to reach out if you would like to have a talk. But yeah, have a great one.